The giant space station hung in the darkness like a bright star. Ships from all over the galaxy came and went from its many docking ports. This was Nexus Prime Station, where the most powerful races in the galaxy met to decide important matters. Today, they were meeting to talk about humans. Jinha walked through the long hallways of the station. His black hair was neat, and his simple blue uniform looked plain next to the colorful clothes of the aliens around him. Other beings moved past him without looking. To them, he was just another human, weak, soft, and not worth their time. The meeting hall was huge. Hundreds of seats filled the circular room, rising up like steps around a central floor. Strange creatures sat in those seats. Some looked like giant lizards with sharp teeth. Others were made of crystal that sparkled in the light. Some floated in the air like living gas clouds. Jinha took his seat in the back corner. The human section was small, just 5 chairs for a species that lived on dozens of worlds. Around him, aliens talked and laughed in their own languages. He could understand most of what they said. Humans were good at learning languages. They had to be. "Look at the little human," said a voice that sounded like grinding rocks. Jinha looked up to see Ambassador Torvin, the leader of the Vrak hegemony. The Vrak looked like a giant lizard that walked on 2 legs. His scales were dark green and his eyes were yellow like a snake's. Sharp claws clicked against the metal floor as he walked. "So small and weak," Torvin continued, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I wonder why we even let them come to these meetings." Laughter filled the hall. The crystal beings made sounds like wind chimes. The gas clouds made whistling noises. Even the robot races clicked and beeped in what passed for their laughter. "They cry when just one of them dies," said an ethereal, one of the crystal beings. Her voice was like music, but cold music. "How can such weak creatures think they can live among the stars?" More laughter. Jinha sat quietly and listened. His face showed no emotion, but his dark eyes watched everything. The meeting started when a deep bell rang through the hall. The noise stopped as Council Leader Zephan floated to the center of the room. Zephan was an ancient, a being made of pure energy that had lived for thousands of years. His voice came from everywhere at once. "We are here to discuss the territorial dispute between the Vrak hegemony and the human colonies," Zephan announced. "The Vrak claim that human worlds are in their space." Torvin stood up, his massive form casting shadows across the floor. "The humans have taken worlds that belong to us. We found these planets first thousands of years ago. The humans only arrived a few decades ago. They must leave. Those are our homes now," Jinha said quietly. His voice was calm and steady. "Our people live there. Our children were born there." The hall erupted in laughter again. Torvin's eyes glowed with amusement. "Children?" he roared. "You speak of children like they matter. Strong races make millions of offspring. If some die, we make more. But humans ... You count every single one like it's precious?" "That's exactly right," Jinha replied. "Every human life is precious to us. And that's why you're weak." Torvin slammed his clawed fist on the rail in front of him. "You waste time and energy on individuals. Strong races think about the group, the species, the empire. We sacrifice the few for the many. We are willing to lose millions to win a war." The ethereals hummed in agreement. "The humans lack the evolutionary spine for true warfare," one of them sang. "They are too soft, too emotional. They will never be a real power in this galaxy." Jinha stood up slowly. Around him, hundreds of aliens watched with amusement. They were waiting for him to beg, to offer some weak compromise, to show the fear they expected from his kind. "We respectfully decline your demands," he said. "Humanity will defend what is ours." The silence lasted for exactly 3 seconds. Then the laughter started again, louder than before. Some aliens fell from their seats. They were laughing so hard. The gas clouds swirled in patterns that meant they found something very funny. Even the serious robot races made electronic sounds of amusement. "Defend?" Torvin could barely speak through his laughter. "With what? Your little metal ships? Your primitive weapons? We have plasma cannons that can melt planets. We have shields that can stop anything you can throw at us. We have been fighting wars since before your species learned to make fire. You have 3 days, another Vrak said. 3 days to pack up your things and leave our worlds. If you don't, we will remove you ourselves. It won't be a war, Torvin added. It will be pest control. The meeting ended with more laughter. Aliens filed out of the hall, talking excitedly about the coming pest control mission. Some placed bets on how long it would take to remove the humans. Most guessed less than a day. Jinha walked out of the hall without hurrying. His face still showed no emotion, but something in his eyes had changed. He made his way to the observation deck, a quiet area with large windows that looked out at the stars. Harun was already there, standing with her hands behind her back. She looked like a simple human woman in a plain uniform. Her black hair was tied back and she wore no decorations or medals. To anyone watching, she was just another human diplomat. "They think we're weak," she said, without turning around. Her voice was soft, but there was something hard underneath it. "They always have," Jinha replied, moving to stand beside her. "They see our emotions and think we're soft. They see our care for individuals and think we're inefficient. They see our small fleets and think we're helpless. Are you going to tell them the truth?" Jinha was quiet for a long moment. Outside the window, stars sparkled in the darkness. Some of those stars had human worlds around them. Worlds where people lived and worked and raised families. Worlds that the Vrak wanted to take. "No," he said finally. "Let them keep thinking we're weak. Let them keep laughing. It will make this easier." He pulled out a small communication device. It looked simple, like something any human diplomat might carry. But this device could send messages across the galaxy instantly, using technology that most aliens thought was impossible. "This is Jinha," he said into the device. "Send the message to Earth. Tell them it's time." "Time for what?" Harun asked, though her small smile suggested she already knew. Time to show the galaxy what humans really are. Far across the galaxy, on a blue world that most aliens thought was weak and primitive, the message was received. In hidden bases and secret facilities, humans began to move. They had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. The Vrak thought they were hunting prey. They had no idea they were about to wake up a predator. Admiral Korvash stood on the bridge of his flagship. The Death's Claw, the massive Vrak warship, was bigger than most human cities. Its dark metal hull was covered in weapon ports and armor plates. Behind it, 200 more Vrak ships waited, in formation. Each one was a killing machine built for war. "Approaching the human colony of New Bizan," reported his weapons officer. "The pathetic humans have only 12 ships defending the planet." Korvash laughed, showing his sharp teeth. 12 ships. We brought 200. This will be over in minutes?" He looked at the green planet on his screen. It looked peaceful, with white clouds and blue oceans. Soon it would be burning. "Sir, we're receiving a message from the planet," said the communications officer. "Put it through. Let's hear them beg." The screen flickered and showed a human face. It was a middle-aged man with kind eyes and gray hair. He wore simple clothes and looked more like a farmer than a soldier. "This is Quan, administrator of New Bizan Colony," the human said. "I ask you to reconsider your attack. We have families here, children, old people. They have done nothing wrong." "Your presence is wrong," Korvash replied. "This is Vrak space. You will surrender now or we will take the planet by force." Quan was quiet for a moment. "I see. Then you leave us no choice. All civilians, begin evacuation procedures. Move to the underground shelters." "Shelters won't save you," Korvash snarled. "Our plasma cannons can melt through a mile of rock." "I know," Quan said sadly. "But we have to try. Goodbye, Admiral." The transmission ended. Korvash smiled. The human had looked so sad, so defeated. This would be even easier than he thought. "Begin the bombardment," he ordered. "Target their cities first. Show them what happens when they refuse the Vrak." The first wave of plasma bolts screamed through space. Each bolt carried enough energy to level a city block. They struck the planet's surface in bright flashes of light. But something was wrong. Instead of burning cities, the bolts hit what looked like mining equipment and storage buildings. Then the explosion started. The plasma bolts didn't just hit buildings, they hit hidden weapons. Massive explosions tore through space as the mining equipment revealed its true nature. These were defense platforms, disguised to look harmless. But their weapons were anything but harmless. Beams of pure energy shot up from the planet's surface. They moved faster than anything Corvash had ever seen. When they hit his ships, the mighty Vrak armor didn't just break, it disappeared. The beams turned solid metal into nothing, as if it had never existed. "Shields up!" Corvash shouted. "Return fire!" But the shields were already failing. The human weapons cut through them like they were made of paper. 3 Vrak ships exploded. In balls of fire, then 5 more, then 10. "Sir, we're detecting movement in the asteroid field," the sensor officer reported, his voice shaking. "What kind of movement?" "Ships, sir, lots of ships. They're appearing out of nowhere." Corvash looked at his screens and felt cold. Fear run down his spine. Ships were materializing around his fleet. Not small ships, massive warships that looked nothing like the simple human vessels he had seen before. These ships were sleek and deadly, with hull designs that seemed to bend light around them. "How many?" he whispered. 500, sir. No, 700. They keep appearing." The human ships had been invisible, completely invisible. They had been waiting in the asteroid field, watching, preparing. Now they dropped their camouflage and revealed themselves. "Impossible," Corvash breathed. "No one has stealth technology that advanced, not even the ethereals." A new voice came over the communication system. It was calm and professional, but it carried the weight of absolute authority. "This is Admiral Harin of the Human Defense Fleet. You have 30 seconds to surrender or we will destroy you." Corvash looked at the human face on his screen. She was a small woman with dark hair and steady eyes. She didn't look angry or excited. She looked like someone doing a job she had done many times before. "You're bluffing," Corvash said. "We still outnumber you." "Do you?" Harin asked. "Count again." Corvash looked at his sensors. The numbers kept climbing. 1,000 human ships. 1,500. 2,000. They were everywhere, surrounding his fleet completely. "Fire all weapons." He screamed. The Vrak fleet opened fire with everything they had. Plasma cannons, missile launchers, energy beams, all of it poured toward the human ships. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The human ships didn't even try to dodge. They just sat there and took the attack. When the light faded, they were still there, completely undamaged. "Our turn," Harin said quietly. The human ships fired once, just once, but their weapons were like nothing in the galaxy. Beams of silver light reached out and touched the Vrak ships. Where the beams hit, matter simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, erased. The atoms themselves came apart and disappeared. In 10 seconds, half the Vrak fleet was gone. Not burning, not exploding, just gone as if they had never been there at all. "Surrender now?" Harin said. "This is your last chance." Corvash looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at their screens in shock. His mighty fleet, the pride of the Vrak military, was being destroyed by an enemy that had been invisible until they chose to reveal themselves. "How?" he whispered. "How is this possible?" "We've been watching you for 100 years, Harin replied. "We know every ship you have, every weapon you use, every tactic you employ. We know your strengths and your weaknesses. Most importantly, we know how to kill you." Another wave of human weapons fired. More Vrak ships disappeared. The survivors began to break formation, trying to flee. "We surrender," Corvash shouted. "We surrender." "Too late," Harin said. "You had your chance." The human weapons fired again. This time they targeted the engines of the fleeing ships. The Vrak vessels stopped dead in space, powerless and drifting. Down on the planet, Quan watched the battle through his command center screens. The simple administrator was actually monitoring military displays that showed every detail of the fight. His kind eyes had become cold and calculating. Phase 1 complete, he reported into his communication device. The Vrak fleet is neutralized. Beginning Phase 2? On the screens, the human ships were moving into new formations. They weren't done fighting, they were just getting started. Admiral Korvash sent out a desperate message to every Vrak world, every military base, every ship in their empire. His voice was shaking with fear. The humans, they were never weak, they were studying us. Everything we thought we knew about them was wrong. They have technology beyond anything we've seen. They have weapons that can erase matter itself. And they have ships that can become invisible? He paused, looking at the human fleet that surrounded his broken forces. We thought we were hunting prey, but we're the prey. We've always been the prey. The humans were just waiting for us to make the first move. Haran's voice came over the communication system one more time. This is a message to all Vrak forces. You attacked our world, you threatened our families. You laughed at our warnings. Now you will learn what happens when you wake up a sleeping giant. The human ships began to move, leaving the disabled Vrak vessels behind. They had other targets. Now, other enemies to visit. The galaxy had called humanity weak for too long. It was time to correct that mistake. In the wreckage of his flagship, Admiral Korvash watched the human fleet disappear into hyperspace. He knew they were going to other Vrak worlds, other military bases, and he knew his people weren't ready for what was coming. The humans had been pretending to be weak for 100 years. Now they were showing their true strength, and it was terrifying. The news traveled fast. Within hours, every major race in the galaxy knew about the destruction of the Vrak fleet. The impossible had happened. Humans had not just defended themselves. They had completely destroyed a force that should have crushed them easily. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. This time, the Great Hall was packed. No one wanted to miss this discussion. The same aliens who had laughed at Jinha 3 days ago now whispered nervously among themselves. Council leader Zephin floated in the center of the room, his energy form flickering with worry. We are here to discuss the recent events at New Bizin Colony. The Vrak fleet was ... eliminated. Not eliminated, corrected Ambassador Torvin. The proud Vrak leader looked smaller now, his scales pale with fear. Erased. Our ships didn't explode or burn. They simply stopped existing. The ethereals hummed together, their crystal bodies ringing like bells. This is impossible, sang their leader, Melody. No race in the galaxy has weapons that can destroy matter at the molecular level. We have studied the laws of physics for millions of years. Then you missed something, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Jinha walking into the hall. But he wasn't alone this time. Harin walked beside him, and her simple uniform couldn't hide her military bearing anymore. She moved like a warrior, and her eyes scanned the room like she was looking for threats. The humans dare to come here after their attack? Torvin snarled, but his voice shook. Attack? Jinha stopped walking and looked at the Vrak ambassador. You attacked us. We defended ourselves. There's a difference. You used forbidden weapons, technology that violates galactic law. What law? Harin asked. Her voice was calm, but everyone could hear the steel underneath. The law that says only certain races can have advanced technology, the law that says humans should stay weak and helpless. We never agreed to those laws. The hall erupted in anger. Voices, aliens shouted in dozens of languages. Some demanded explanations. Others called for war against humanity. But underneath the anger, there was something else. Fear. Silence, Zephin commanded. The noise stopped immediately. Humans, you will explain how you developed these weapons. You will share this technology with the Council, as required by galactic law. Jinha smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. We don't think so. You have no choice, said the leader of the synthetic collective, a race of machines that had conquered half a sector. We demand full access to your technology. If you refuse, we will take it by force. Really? Harin pulled out a small device that looked like a simple tablet. Let's see if you're in a position to make demands. She pressed a button. The main screen in the hall flickered to life, showing a view of space. But not just any space, the space around every major alien homeworld. The assembled aliens stared in shock. Around each of their home planets, human ships hung in the darkness like hungry predators, hundreds of them, thousands of them, all invisible until this moment. "By the void," whispered an ethereal. "When did they get there?" "We've been there." "For years," Quan said, his voice coming through the communication system. "While you were laughing at us, we were mapping your worlds. While you were calling us weak, we were studying your defenses. While you were making your plans, we were making better ones." The view changed, showing different alien worlds. Each one had human fleets in perfect position to attack. Not invasion fleets, execution fleets. Each human ship was positioned to exploit specific weaknesses that the aliens thought were secret. "This is impossible," Melody sang, her crystal form trembling. "Our worlds are protected by the best defenses in the galaxy. No one could get ships past our sensors." "Your sensors can't detect what they can't see," Harin said. "We've been perfecting stealth technology for 50 years. We can make our ships invisible to every form of detection you have. But how did you know where to position them?" asked the leader of the Gas Cloud Federation. "Our military bases are top secret," Jinha laughed. "Secret? We've had spies in your governments for decades. Every trade mission, every diplomatic meeting, every cultural exchange, we were gathering intelligence. You thought we were just curious about your cultures? We were learning how to destroy you." The truth hit the aliens like a physical blow. Every time they had met with humans, every time they had shared information, every time they had shown their technology, the humans had been studying them, learning their weaknesses, planning their destruction. "You've been watching us for 100 years, Torvin said, his voice barely a whisper. "Watching, learning, preparing." Haren's finger hovered over another button on her device. "Did you really think we were just exploring the galaxy for fun? Every human ship that visited your worlds was a spy mission. Every diplomat was gathering intelligence. Every trade deal was a chance to study your technology. This is a violation of every treaty in the galaxy," shouted the ambassador from the Hive Collective. "What treaties?" Quan's voice was cold. "The treaties that said we couldn't have advanced weapons? The treaties that said we had to stay in our little corner of the galaxy? The treaties that said we had to ask permission before defending ourselves? We never signed those treaties." The screen changed again. This time it showed human military bases, but not the simple outposts the aliens had seen before. These were massive fortresses hidden inside asteroids, built into the sides of dead planets, floating in the empty spaces between stars. Each one was bigger than most alien cities. "While you were building your empires, we were building our military," Harin continued. "While you were fighting each other, we were preparing for all of you. While you were laughing at our weakness, we were becoming stronger than any of you could imagine." "But why?" Melody asked. "Why hide your strength? Why pretend to be weak?" "Because it was easier," Jinna said. "If you had known what we were really capable of, you would have tried to stop us. You would have united against us. Instead, you ignored us. You let us grow, you let us prepare. And now?" Zephan asked. "Now we're done hiding," Harin pressed another button. "Every human fleet is now at full combat readiness. Every human world is now fully defended. Every human weapon is now powered up and ready to fire." The screens around the hall showed energy readings that made the aliens' most powerful weapons look like toys. The numbers were so high that some aliens couldn't even read them. "You have a choice," Quan said, his voice reaching every corner of the galaxy through hijacked communication networks. "You can accept that humans are now the dominant power in this galaxy, or you can try to fight us. And if we fight?" Torvin asked. "Then you'll learn what happens when you threaten a human child," Harin replied. "You'll learn what happens when you attack a human home. You'll learn what happens when you make humanity angry." The hall was silent. Every alien was staring at the screens, at the human fleets that surrounded their worlds. They were seeing the truth for the first time. Humanity wasn't just another race trying to survive in a hostile galaxy. They were apex predators who had been patient enough to let their prey feel safe. "You have 24 hours to decide," Jinha said. "Surrender unconditionally or face the consequences." "And if we refuse?" asked the leader of the Crystal Empire. Harin's smile was sharp as a blade. "Then you'll discover what humans do when we stop playing nice." The communication ended. The screens went dark. The aliens sat in stunned silence, finally understanding the magnitude of their mistake. They had laughed at humanity's weakness. Now they were about to learn about humanity's strength, and they were terrified. The 24 hours passed slowly. In secret meeting rooms across the galaxy, the major alien powers tried to form an alliance against humanity. The Vrak, the Ethereals, the Synthetic Collective, and dozens of other races sent messages to each other, planning their response, but their plans fell apart before they could even begin. "Sir, we have a problem," reported the Vrak intelligence officer to what remained of their high command. "Our communications are being monitored. Every message we send, every plan we make, the humans are watching." "That's impossible," General Korvex snarled. "Our encryption is unbreakable. We've been using the same codes for centuries." "The humans broke them all, sir, decades ago. They've been reading our messages since the day we met them." The same scene played out on every alien world. The crystal beings of the Ethereal Empire discovered that their quantum communications were compromised. The machines of the Synthetic Collective found that their secure networks had been infiltrated. The gas clouds of the Federation learned that their chemical signals were being decoded. Everywhere, the message was the same. Humanity had been listening to everything. How is this possible? Melody sang, her crystal form dim with despair. "We invented quantum encryption. It should be mathematically impossible to break." "Unless you know the math better than we do," came Hurin's voice from their communication system. The humans had taken over their networks completely. "We've been studying your encryption for 50 years. We know your codes better than you do." On the synthetic homeworld of Circuit Prime, the machine leaders gathered in their central processing core. Their digital minds worked faster than any biological brain, but even they were confused. "Analysis complete," announced Prime Unit 001. "The humans have infiltrated every system we possess. They have access to our manufacturing data, our weapon designs, our strategic planning algorithms. They know everything about us." "How did they accomplish this?" asked Prime Unit 002. "They are better at creating artificial intelligence than we are," came the bitter reply. "Their computer systems are more advanced than ours. We are machines, but they have surpassed us in the creation of thinking machines." Across the galaxy, panic was spreading. The alien races realized they had no secrets left. Every military plan, every weapon design, every strategic advantage they thought they had, humanity knew about it all. But the aliens weren't ready to surrender. They had one last hope. In the deepest laboratories of the Ethereal Empire, the crystal beings worked frantically on their most secret weapon. It was technology that could unmake matter at the quantum level, not just destroy it, but erase it from existence entirely. "This will work," Melody sang to her scientists. "The humans may have advanced technology, but they cannot defend against something that rewrites the laws of physics themselves." The weapon was massive, a crystalline construct the size of a moon. It took the combined power of their entire empire to charge it. When it fired, the beam would travel across the galaxy to Earth itself. If they could destroy the human homeworld, the threat would end. "Target locked on the human homeworld," reported the weapons officer. "Charging sequence initiated." The beam that erupted from the ethereal weapon was like nothing ever seen before. It moved faster than light, carrying enough power to unravel the atomic structure of an entire planet. Space itself twisted around it as it traveled toward Earth. The humans watched it coming. On every world, in every ship, they saw the deadly beam approaching their homeworld. But no one panicked. No one tried to run. "Incoming quantum disruptor beam," reported a calm voice from Earth Defense Command. "Impact in 30 seconds. Confirmed, replied another voice. Phase barrier is active. All personnel stand by. The beam struck Earth with the force of a dying star. The entire planet was engulfed in light as the quantum energy tried to tear apart every atom on the world. For a moment, Earth seemed to flicker as if it might fade from existence. Then the light faded. Earth was still there, still blue and green and beautiful, still turning peacefully in space. Impossible, Melody whispered. Our weapon was perfect. It should have erased your planet from existence. It was perfect, Harin's voice came through their communication system. Perfect for a normal planet. But Earth hasn't been normal for 50 years. The screens in the ethereal command center showed new images. Earth was surrounded by a shimmer in space, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. But this wasn't heat, it was something far more advanced. We call it a reality anchor, Juan explained, his voice calm and educational. It locks the space around Earth into a specific configuration. Inside this field, your quantum weapons don't work. Your matter disruptors don't work. Even your most advanced technology becomes useless. But how? Melody sang, her voice breaking with despair. We've been rewriting the laws of physics, Jinha said simply. While you were using technology that follows the rules of the universe, we were learning to change the rules themselves. The truth hit the aliens like a physical blow. Humanity hadn't just developed better weapons or stronger ships. They had learned to manipulate reality itself. They had made themselves immune to the aliens' most powerful attacks. You dot? You've weaponized science itself, whispered the leader of the research collective. We've evolved beyond your understanding, Harin replied. Every time you thought you knew what we were capable of, we moved beyond your comprehension. You're not fighting a military force, you're fighting evolution itself. But the humans weren't finished. Across the galaxy, their fleets began to power up weapons that made everything they had shown before look like toys. The energy readings were so massive that they warped space-time itself. What are you doing? Torvin asked, his voice shaking with terror. We're tired of games, Jinha said. We're tired of hiding. We're tired of pretending to be something we're not. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally, or we'll show you what humans do when we stop holding back. The screens showed human weapons charging up. The energy levels were beyond anything the aliens had ever seen. These weren't just planet killers, they were star killers. Weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. You've been fighting us with training weapons, Quan explained. Everything you've seen so far was us being gentle. But you attacked our homeworld. You tried to kill our families. You've pushed us too far. We surrender, Torvin shouted. Please, we surrender. We all surrender. Melody sang, her crystal form flashing with panic. We acknowledge human supremacy. Announced the machines of the synthetic collective. The surrender messages came from every corner of the galaxy. The proud alien races that had ruled the stars for millions of years were begging for mercy from the species they had called weak. Just days before, too late, Harin said quietly. You had your chance to surrender with dignity. You chose to attack our home instead. Now you'll learn what it costs to threaten a human child. The human weapons finished charging. The energy readings were so high that they broke the sensors trying to measure them. The aliens watched in terror as humanity prepared to show them what real power looked like. Please, Melody begged. We were wrong. We underestimated you. We're sorry. Sorry doesn't bring back the people you killed, Quan said coldly. Sorry doesn't erase the threats you made. Sorry doesn't change the fact that you tried to destroy our world. The human fleets moved into firing position. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what humanity would do with the power they had hidden for so long. This is your last lesson, Jinha said. This is what happens when you underestimate humanity. This is what happens when you threaten what we love. The weapons began to fire. The human weapons fired, but they didn't fire at planets or ships. Instead, they fired at empty space around each alien world. The beams of energy struck nothing but vacuum, yet the effect was immediate and terrifying. Space itself began to change. The darkness between stars shifted and rippled like water. New laws of physics spread outward from each beam, creating zones where alien technology simply stopped working. Ships fell silent, weapons powered down. Communication systems went dead. What have you done? Melody sang, her crystal form flickering as her empire's power grid failed. We've changed the rules, Harin replied. In the space around your worlds, your technology no longer works. Your weapons are useless. Your ships can't fly. Your cities have no power. The aliens watched in horror as their mighty civilizations ground to a halt. The Vrak fleet hung dead in space, their engines silent. The ethereal crystals dimmed as their energy sources failed. The synthetic collective's machines stood frozen, their circuits unable to function. You're not destroying us, Torvin said, his voice weak without his ship's communication boosters. You single quotes re ... You're making us helpless. Exactly, Jinha said. We could have destroyed you all. We could have wiped out your civilizations with a thought, but we're not like you. We don't kill unless we have to. But you're taking away our power. Protested the leader of the research collective. Without our technology, we're nothing. Now you understand how we felt, Quan said quietly. For 100 years, you made us feel small and weak. You laughed at our emotions. You mocked our care for individuals. You treated us like children who didn't belong among the stars. We were wrong, Melody sang softly. We see that now. Yes, you were wrong. But we're not going to make you suffer for it. We're going to teach you. The human fleets began to move again, but not to attack. They moved to positions around each alien world, taking up protective formations. The message was clear: humanity was now the guardian of the galaxy. This is how it's going to work, Harin announced to every world, every ship, every creature in the galaxy. We are now the dominant power in this galaxy. But we're not going to rule through fear or violence. We're going to rule through example. The Galactic Council was called back into session, but this time everything was different. The Great Hall had been rebuilt with a simple throne at its center. But the throne sat empty. Jinha stood beside it, wearing the same simple blue uniform he had worn before. But now everyone knew what that uniform represented: the power to rewrite reality itself. The throne belongs to humanity, he said to the assembled aliens. Not to any one human, but to all of us. We don't need kings or emperors. We are strongest when we work together. The alien representatives sat in stunned silence. They had expected conquest, slavery, revenge. Instead, they were seeing something they had never imagined, a species that had gained ultimate power and chose to use it responsibly. What do you want from us? Asked Torvin. The proud Vrak general looked old and tired. We want you to learn, Harin said, taking her place beside Jinha. We want you to understand that strength doesn't come from technology or weapons. It comes from caring about each other. You called us weak because we mourn our dead, Quan added, his voice coming from every communication system in the galaxy. But that's exactly what makes us strong. Every human life matters to us. Every loss makes us more determined to protect what we have left. We want you to see that individuals matter, Jinha continued. Your species think about numbers, millions of soldiers, thousands of ships, countless expendable lives. We think about people. We remember names. We care about families. That's impossible, said the leader of the Hive Collective. Our species think as one mind. Individual thoughts are inefficient, and that's why you lost, Harin replied. You think like a machine, but we think like living beings. We adapt, we change, we grow stronger from our challenges. The screen behind them showed images of human worlds. But these weren't military bases or weapon factories. They were cities full of families, schools full of children, parks where people played and laughed. They were places where life was celebrated, not just survived. This is what we're protecting, Jinha said. Not territory or resources or power. We're protecting the right to live, to love, to dream of a better tomorrow. But you have ultimate power now, Melody sang. You could take anything you want. We already have everything we want, Quan said. We have each other, we have our families, we have our dreams. What more could we need? The aliens looked at each other in confusion. They had spent millions of years fighting for power, for territory, for dominance. But the humans had gained all of that and declared it wasn't what they wanted. What happens now? Asked the leader of the Crystal Empire. Now you learn, Harin said. Your technology will be restored gradually, as you prove you can use it responsibly. Your weapons will remain offline until you no longer need them. Your ships will fly again when you use them for exploration, not conquest. And if we refuse to learn? Torvin asked. Then you'll stay as you are, Jinha said simply, powerless and alone. But we hope you'll choose differently. The first to speak was surprising. Prime Unit 001 of the Synthetic Collective, the leader of the machine race, activated his communication system. We want to learn, the artificial intelligence said. We have spent centuries trying to understand biological life, perhaps you can teach us. We can teach you, Quan said warmly. We can teach you all. One by one, the other alien races agreed. The ethereals wanted to learn about human emotions. The Vrak wanted to understand human tactics. The gas clouds wanted to know how humans had developed such advanced technology. But first, Harin said, you need to understand the most important lesson of all. What's that? Melody asked. That we're not your enemies? We never were. We could have been your friends from the beginning if you had just treated us with respect. The great hall was quiet for a long moment. Then Torvin stood up slowly. The proud Vrak general, who had laughed at human weakness just days before, bowed his head. We are sorry, he said. We were wrong about you. We were wrong about everything. Apology accepted, Jinha said. Now let's work together to make the galaxy a better place. The meeting ended with something that had never happened before in the Galactic Council, aliens and humans working together on plans for the future. Not plans for war or conquest, but plans for exploration, for learning, for building a galaxy where every species could thrive. As the aliens filed out of the hall, they were no longer the same beings who had entered. They had learned what it meant to be truly powerful, not through weapons or technology, but through the strength that Komis from caring about others. Harin and Jinha stood together in the empty hall, looking out at the stars through the great windows. Do you think they'll really learn? Harin asked. They'll learn, Jinha said with confidence, because that's what we do. We don't just survive, we help others become better than they were. And if they don't, Jinha smiled, then we'll teach them again and again and again, until they understand that being human isn't about being perfect. It's about never giving up on the hope that tomorrow can be better than today. Outside the station, human ships moved through space alongside alien vessels. The galaxy had a new order now, not one based on fear or dominance, but on the simple idea that every life had value. The species that had once been called weak had become the galaxy's teachers. And in teaching others, they had proven what it truly meant to be human. Not just to survive, but to lift others up and make them stronger too. The galaxy had learned humanity's name, and it would never forget it again.